Yay Networks.
Welcome to Logically Irrational with my parents, Ty Strickland and Melissa Rycroft. He's a little logical.
Until I start gossiping.
And she's a little irrational.
You've got nothing.
But together, they make the perfect combo.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Logically Irrational.
We're back.
So sorry. I feel like we do this a lot.
Well,
Apologies.
yeah, no kidding. Stuff comes up.
Last week was not our fault. Hashtag was our fault.
Well, it's totally our fault.
I know. We were going out of town on our anniversary trip and we were leaving Wednesday night, which is a random night. We leave, do a Thursday to Sunday.
Yep.
The flights were significantly cheaper if we left late Wednesday night. Not a big deal, except that you now have a ton of stuff to do on Wednesday day. I now have a ton of stuff to do on Wednesday day. Wednesday is our recording day. And I found myself going, oh God, I don't know how we're going to do it. So I went to our podcast gods that be, and they were like, you're fine. Enjoy your anniversary.
No problem.
I went, thank you.
Yeah, but then everybody else gets mad at us.
I know. And I didn't give them
I'm not
notice
worried about
until
those
like
guys.
day of. So
Oops,
my bad. However, thank you for letting us go and enjoy our anniversary trip. We'll talk about it a little bit more. I do have, I guess, bad news for the listeners. We're gone the next 2 weeks after this.
Are we?
Yes. Christmas and New Year's break. We are off officially. I think all of our podcasts in the networks is off. So we will not be here next week. We will not be here the week after that. But we will be back in the new year to help celebrate with everybody. Looking forward to some family time. And that's it.
All good.
Fun news. Off the bat, I would like to welcome officially our 13th male listener.
All right.
Justin.
Just Justin.
Hey, Justin.
What Justin have to say?
I don't know, but his wife Laura ratted him out that he's a lister.
It's okay, dude.
What do you mean? Yeah.
All right.
Hey, bro.
There's a baker's dozen of us now.
Welcome.
Yeah.
And that
buddy.
includes Ty. He's
right.
part of that
Well,
list.
I'm a dude.
So anyway, like I said, apologies. Hope everybody had a great week last week. We did. We'll get into that. We are actually tomorrow leaving for New York, which I think last we told everybody it was. This was actually supposed to be me, Ava's best friend Savvy, and my best friend Katie going to New York. And then it turned into, well, the dads want to see each other. They haven't seen each other in 4 years.
But I don't remember, like, I never said, hey, I want to go.
Well, you kind of did. And so then it turned into, okay, it's the moms and daughters and the husbands. Why not? Husbands are best friends too, right?
Yep.
And then they ended up going, well, we're going to have to bring our son. We can't leave him home. Oh, it's fine. Bring him. And then while we were in Vegas, we went, oh, should we bring the boys?
Well, and why not? Right?
We already had a hotel room that would accommodate. Now that's on New York standards. We're all still in one room. It's just
a little tight. Okay.
Ava loses the pull-out bed to herself and she gets to share it.
I think I was the big advocate of this. Like, I want them to be there.
No. I was not opposed to it. I just hadn't thought about it. I went, all right.
Like, the biggest expense was just airfare. If we can get airfare, then we can.
It was one of those where I went, okay, here's what we do. If it works out, it works out. If it's easy, let's do it. If it is, we're jumping through more hoops to make this happen, which is kind of how we handle most things. Like, if it's easy, great. So I called the airline, and of course they're like, yeah, no, I can get them on the flight, 2 seats together. I was like, oh.
Well, and the only problem would be if, like, they ruin the trip for Ava. And, like, not because of the way they act, but because then we have to cater to them too. And so with the guys all being there,
again,
like, we'll
Ava, this is her trip.
Right.
And it is her trip.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. This is Ava's trip. But what we ended up doing was us and our friends, we had to stay in 2 different hotel rooms or hotels, not hotel rooms. Duh.
we can't all fit on those 2 twins.
Because you and I, as we are, we're procrastinators. And by the time I went to go book the hotel, I was like, well, they're sold out of rooms that fit us. That's all they've got. Yeah. So we're 4 New York blocks away, which is nothing. But what I did was, once I booked the boys, I said, let me get an extra just basic adjoining room for the girls. Because the last year when we did this and we went to Disney, the most fun these girls had was not when we spent $8,000 going to actual Disney. It was at night when they could go in bed together and make stupid little TikToks and not post them and videos and this and watch that. I mean, that's all they want to do is just hang out together. So I got them a room where I'm like, y'all can hang out together. That's what you do. And she's happy as can be. She's they're planning outfits. You're going to a Jets game.
Yeah.
You're taking the boys to a Jets game when we go see
Lions,
Wicked.
which we don't really like the Jets or the Lions, but being at a game, especially somewhere, in New York at a different city, I'm super pumped about. And then the boys will love it.
I think so. I don't feel like they 100% understand.
They don't.
The New York thing right now. They're like, okay, we're going. I'm like, no, this is a big deal, guys.
They think it's like we're going to Grapevine, like the town next to us.
Yeah.
Like they think it's just going next door. But yeah, they're going to be so excited. They kept asking, like, okay, can we go to run a roller coaster? Can we go to a water park?
I want to go skiing. I'm
like,
all right,
well, no, it's not that kind of trip.
You're
But you'll have fun. And then when you explain to them what we're going to be doing, it doesn't sound like fun.
Right.
We're going to be walking around in the cold, and we're going to shop.
There may be horses that we could get in a carriage.
Like, I'd rather stay here. What? But they'll have fun.
So I've been trying to book Macy's. In New York has the Santa Land. I think it's in Herald Square, and you have to make reservations for it, and you can only make them 5 days in advance. And they go live 6:30 a.m. New York time. By the time I wake up at 6:30 Central time, everything is sold out. I have been tracking this now for a week, trying to get everybody in because, and if there are little ears listening, I would fast forward at least.
Well, just don't
3 minutes. No. Just fast forward 3 minutes. Go hit that. I'm going to give you a second because Kaysen 100% is in this year.
Yeah.
100% is in this year. And Ava, again, little ears need to go away right now. I'm warning you. Came to me a couple months ago, 2 months ago, before we put the elves out. And she goes, Mom, I can help you with the elves this year. And I looked at her and I went, what? And she goes, Wally and Ginger, I can help you move them. And I went, oh.
Oh, you can?
Oh, okay. Because last year she and I tap danced around it. I was like, I know she knows, but she's not going to tell me. And I'm certainly not going to tell her. But there would be things like she would move the elves at like lunchtime. And we'd all come home and I'm like, oh, the elves are in a different spot, but I'm not going to tell her she moved them. And she's looking at me going, Mom, look, they moved. It's like, oh, all right. This is one of these. Okay. All right. Yeah. But I tell you what, it's been the greatest thing ever having a helper.
Because she's like,
she comes down every night.
Yeah. She's all on board.
You want me to, because I get one of those
kits. She's
kits.
super creative too.
I get the help with the shelf kit and she loves going through that and picking out what scenes she wants to do. And it's also been helpful because I was able to tell her like, hey, baby girl, this trip to New York is a Christmas present.
Part of your Christmas present.
Couldn't have said that last year or the year before, but guess what? This is part of your Christmas present. But it got me sad. I had lunch with a couple girlfriends yesterday and we were talking about like how I still do the elves and none of them do the elves anymore.
Oh, really?
No. And their kids are Beckett's age.
Old.
Okay. Now Beckett can take it or leave it. I couldn't tell you whether Beckett believes or not because I don't think he would tell us.
He's so easygoing that he just wouldn't say anything.
I don't think that he would tell us even if he didn't. He's just like, yeah, all right, whatever. But
you don't want to cut off that
Kaysen is so in. He gets up in the morning and he's looking for them and he's all in. But I just went, it's so fleeting. Like it wouldn't shock me if next year I went, oh.
Well, we'll still have him.
It's going to hit him. We got 10 years out of, 9.5 years out of Ava. We're not getting that out of Beckett or Kaysen.
He'll be done next year.
Yeah. And it just makes me sad.
Well, and hopefully it's like when they run around with other boys, like when they all get together, they start talking.
Well, they can't wait to ruin surprise.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, let me tell you, let me ruin your Christmas.
Yeah. Not that our kids aren't. Yeah. They just,
that's just what they
talk,
do.
Right.
It's what they do. Ava found out from friends. That's just what happened.
It was when she was 9 or 8.
At some point, though, like I don't want Beckett being 16 going, Mom, where are the elves?
I do.
Like, well, honey, you know.
He's smarter than that.
Anyway. So yeah, that's what we've got coming up. I don't know. Maybe if we have time, we do a little impromptu episode next week. I don't know, but there's no promises as of right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about our Vegas trip. It was amazing as always. Do some pop news now. We have some really sad news.
Yeah.
And it's going to be followed by some stupid fluff. And I just have to preface that because there's really no way to make a hard turn from talking about one hard topic to like a stupid fluff topic. And then some reality roundup. We've been watching White Lotus. I want to get into Casey Anthony a little bit, Meghan and Harry, all of that stuff. Okay.
Tants Rants.
Okay, so Vegas. This is like the 80th segment we've done on Vegas.
Yeah, it's the same thing every time.
You would be shocked though how many people DM me, what do we do in Vegas? Where do I go eat? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I want to respond to everybody. But I'm like, y'all, I have this conversation like 18 times of where to go, what to do.
Well, we're really not the people to ask other than the food part.
You know what? I think our listeners, we are the people to ask.
Yeah.
I feel like the people that listen do Vegas the way we do, which is not crazy, not partying. I want good food. I want a good massage. Every once in a while, I want a great show. And I want to be in bed by 9 o'clock and sleep in.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
Well, it started on a rough note because I booked Tybo and I on different flights out to Vegas. Yeah. I did this. Deal. No, it ended up not being a big deal. But I remember when I found out, heart dropped and I was like, oh my God, he's going to be so mad at me. So I did it because I guess we had canceled a trip early. I don't know. You know how American now, thanks to COVID, they give you vouchers. Like before, they used to just take your money and like they'd mail you a voucher and then you had to go to the counter and actually use the voucher. Well, now they just put it in your account online, use it for another flight. It's super easy. So we each had those, but in order to use that, I had to book on your account and then I had to go onto my account and book. And I booked us on 2 different flights out. I went to go check in. This was Tuesday night. And I checked myself in. And I was like, all right, great. Let me go over here to Ty. And I went, oh, wait a minute. He's in the same seat I'm in. That's weird.
I think the last time we went to Vegas, didn't you book our room for the wrong night?
No, we extended our trip by a day. We came out earlier and we didn't have a room for that very first night. So that was not my fault, technically. But so, yeah, I remember I called you and I was like, so there's a problem.
Well, there was no problem.
It really ended up not. We went to the airport at the same time. I just stayed for an extra 45 minutes when you left. And then you stayed in Vegas for 45 minutes and we caught up and went. Yeah. We stayed at Aria this time. Love it.
Yeah, Aria's great.
Now, here's what we learned about Aria. What I love about it, one of the things I love, it's part of MGM Grand, which is there's a ton of hotels in Vegas that are MGM Grand. But you can check in online. Right? I can get on my app, check in, and by the time I land, I'm like, I got my room key on my phone. I am fine. Don't have to wait in that line. I don't have to talk to anybody. And we've done that the last couple times. Well, when we got there this time, I went, we're on floor 3. So not a big deal. And this is going to sound super snobby, but when you're in Vegas, floor 3 does nothing.
The floor 3 doesn't bother me at all. It's what happened after that.
Well, so we got in our room and we were overlooking a generator. Like there was no.
Well, come to find out, it was where they house the huge, enormous air conditioner units that run the whole hotel. That
airs, yes, literally all 12,000 suites of Aria. So we opened the window and I was like, okay, it's ugly. It's fine. We're not in the room. It's not a big deal. Well, that night, all night long, it sounded like a 737 jet was landing really on top of our hotel room.
And when one would go off, another one would go on. I mean, they're in like this covered pavilion type thing. So you can't actually see the units, but you could tell that's what it was.
Yeah.
And like, they're just off and on all night long. And it sounded like a plane was taking off every time.
We woke up that morning and I went, I can't be that person, but we have to be that person.
We can't, yeah, I mean, it just woke you up all night long. Yes. And you were up for 4 hours that night.
Well, so we go to the front desk and what does she do? She's like, oh, yes, when you check in online, you get the cruddy rooms. And I went, what?
Well, she said the lowest rooms.
It's a thing, y'all. And I don't know if this is just MGM or whatever, but when you check in online, they bump you to the very bottom of every list and they just give you the rooms that nobody wants. Nobody wants that room. Nobody,
No, I
nobody
feel sorry
wants that
for the
room.
person who got it the next night.
Yeah,
Well, and then when we went, and we were as nice as possible. Like we
Totally.
stay there a lot. We go to Vegas all the time. Like you would think that, okay, we did it last night. Let somebody else do it tonight and give us a different room. And she's like, oh, you know what? We don't have any rooms. We're like, you have no rooms? None. So I look it up on my phone. There are 4,009 rooms at Aria.
Also, though, we could have made another reservation on the app. So I'm like, there are rooms because they're going to let me make a new reservation.
There's some reason you don't want us to move. Like why? If there's another room somewhere.
That room.
Well, but if there's another room somewhere that's open, let us move.
Not only that, because again, y'all know, this is not a secret. We go all the time. And 9 times out of 10, we stay at Aria. So we have the number, we have the membership. I'm a Sapphire member, whatever. Don't.
You would think that if you have that, they would try to accommodate.
Right. If I can move you to the 5th floor on the other side of the air conditioner.
We don't.
Fine.
We're not mad about the view. We just want it to be quiet.
Yeah.
Well, so she's like, I don't have any rooms.
You'll need to come back at 2:00 when housekeeping's done.
I'm like, okay, all right.
So we did.
You don't have any rooms.
But
None.
we did. We went and shopped.
But so we went and did our thing, came back, and we said, hey, well, we were supposed to come up here and talk to you at 2 because we've had just our room's real loud, blah, 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 same thing. And she's like, oh, yeah, I see in here that it was noted and our management denied it. I'm like, well, why? Why? And she's like, you know what? Y'all seem nice. Let me see if I can get a manager on the phone. So she gets a manager on the phone and somehow.
AKA, this is what I think she did. Boop, 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 boop. Hi, John. I've got some really nice people here that need an upgraded room.
Talking to nobody.
So Ty and I are going, she never said our name, never said what suite we were in, never said anything to this guy on the phone. And she literally hangs up the phone and I'm convinced she was talking to nobody. And she goes, well, look at that. They approved it. We can get you to another room.
My question though is like, why did it have to be so difficult?
I don't know.
Do they just think that,
so they had it. They clearly
if you're
have
persistent,
had other rooms.
you can get what you want.
Well, no. I don't even think it's that. I think we were just very nice about it. It wasn't a case of like, I demand a room. It was just like, y'all, please help us. Well, you have to know we are not the first people to complain about being on this side. And when we got there, when we checked into our room, and this was like 10:00 on Wednesday night, there was one of those, it was a room service cart outside the door next to us that looked like breakfast. I remember making a joke with you. I was like, well, there's coffee and cereal. Y'all, when we came back at noon the next day, that thing was still out there. So I went, nobody's over in this wing of the hotel. Nobody is in this wing of the hotel.
Yeah, maybe they're short-staffed and they're only putting people on certain floors, certain wings.
I understand that. We were not a staff at all, though, considering that tray was out there from the minute we checked in until the next night when we checked out and got a new place to go stay. So long story short, all I was saying is like, if y'all want a travel tip, don't ever check in online.
There you go.
We learned that hotels don't care if you check in online.
That's right.
But I will say we had great food. We went to Smith & Wollensky at Venetian, correct?
It is fantastic.
It's one of Ty's favorite.
One of my favorites, for sure.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do steakhouses. That's not my thing, but it
is my thing.
Delicious.
And it was fantastic.
Now, what we did the next night was my thing, which is Jaleo. And it's like Spanish tapas. You look at the menu, y'all, and you have no clue what's on it. The first time we went, I only went because it's one of the highest rated restaurants in Vegas. And I kept seeing it pop up, but I'd look at the menu and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I have no idea. And we tried it one time and it is, to me, consistently the best meal we have every time.
It's great. You kind of have to be open-minded and you have to rely on the waiter.
Sometimes.
If it's your first time.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of know what we want now.
Yes.
But if it's your first time, it's like, I don't know what any of this is.
It's so
except
good,
for the paella. And that's fantastic.
So good. And then we went to a new place, Toca Madero. And it was, so one of our friends was actually in Scottsdale and at the same time, and she texted me and she goes, oh my gosh, my husband and I just went to this restaurant and we found out there's a brand new one in Vegas. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, all right, great. Well, as we're walking into Aria, because you have to go through the mall to get to Aria. Mall. And you go, oh, look that's a fun restaurant. There's like fire features around it. And I look at the name and I went, oh my gosh.
It's the same. Yeah.
This is God telling us we need to go because this is the restaurant my friend just texted me about.
And most entrances into a restaurant in Vegas are like big, huge, like extravagant, real gaudy looking. And this is very small, one door.
It's very
looks like
hidden
a
door,
little-
but it
yeah.
was cool. I mean, there's a
Oh, it was
huge fire
cool.
feature outside.
But you would never know that there's a huge restaurant behind this door.
Had she not texted me, never would have gone. I'd be like, oh, that's fun. That's cool. Anyway, y'all, it was so cool. Like everything, and I hate fire, first of all.
Everything
do it.
was on fire.
Can't stand it. I will hide. Everything that they served drinks and they would come light them on fire. Shots, light them on fire. Food, they'd come light it on fire. The guy next to us got a big tomahawk and they singed
Tomahawk steak, and it was
thing.
hanging.
Yeah.
And then they lit it on fire and finished it off, I
Tell
guess.
you what, though, when you create an ambiance that's just fun,
Yeah.
like this is just cool. I'm looking around at everything.
That's part of it.
Yes.
I mean, that's 30% of if the restaurant's good.
It was so fun. What else happened? So we were supposed to see Aerosmith, remember?
Mhm.
Sold my tickets. Ended up, didn't matter because Aerosmith canceled. The whole thing canceled. So I'm kind of glad I did sell my tickets.
Because then we had other
I had other
tickets.
plans. We went to Absinthe.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
You need to be careful here.
But I know, I'm saying but.
Yeah.
But it is a highly offensive show.
The most offensive thing I have ever witnessed.
I was trying to describe it to my mom. I said, but here's the problem. It's a variety act show. It's if you've been, y'all, and you've seen the red and white circus tent in front of Caesar's Palace, that's Absinthe. So it's a big circus show, basically.
It's a big plastic tent.
And
I mean,
they have these acts, and they're variety acts. They have a guy that stacks 15 chairs on top, one on top of each other, and then he climbs up to the top, flips off. They have, I mean, the
acts are amazing.
the acts alone, because the stage 12 by 12, maybe it's a circle.
Yeah, it's
not big.
It's not big.
And what these guys do on it is unbelievable. Now, what happens in between the acts is completely offensive.
Raunchy comedy. And what's even like raunchy comedy is one thing. They take it to another level because they pick on people in the crowd.
Okay, so I don't mind that this time. We've seen it once before and the raunchiness didn't bother me. This time, I'm going to be honest, it felt a little forced. I was like, I feel like you're kind of trying too hard now to be dirty, and there's really no need for that. I like when they pick people out of the audience because I think that's hilarious. Don't
Watching
go to a
how people
show,
react is
right?
funny, yeah.
If you are going to be offended
Well,
if they pick on you.
But even if you get picked on in a show, you're never insulted like this is. Like they make fun of your appearance, they make fun of who you're with. It is hilarious, but I mean,
last time we were there, they called a girl a gold digger. They were like, "Look at this man you're with. There's no way you're with him because you like him." I was like, "Oh,
look at him, he's ugly.
Oh God,
he must be really rich."
Anyway.
If you're offended easily, don't go to that show.
No, don't go to the show. And again, it was borderline the raunch for me. I was like, okay, it's not even like funny. And then Ty swears that he saw Brittany Griner.
I swear I did.
In New York. And where were we?
We were at Smith & Walensky at the Venetian, where supposedly she lives.
So she does, yes, because she plays there. So he said he was adamant. He goes, I know that's her girlfriend's hair that just walked by.
It was her. I swear it was her.
And
it makes sense. And she's a 7 foot tall woman. Like,
right. I mean, and she's very distinct. And this was literally like 2 days after she got released. Maybe the next day that she got released, right?
Yeah. I mean, it
we're
all
watching
made
it
sense.
on the news.
And people were going up to her. Like,
see, I didn't see that.
But
I tried to look it up, and it says that the plane landed in San Antonio. It also, I have heard that she's shaved her head. Like she doesn't have her.
Oh, well, then
dreads
if
that
that's
she
the case,
had.
it's not her.
Now, I don't know when that happened. Because again, I think we saw her pretty quickly after that plane landed. I don't know where. I was trying to find, I was looking her up on Instagram going, maybe one of her or her wife will post, where they are, what they're doing. And of course they're not. But anyway, it was fun. We were literally watching it on the TV and he goes, oh my gosh, there she is. I don't know. Last thing about Vegas.
Yeah.
Balenciaga was.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Ghost town. We saw 2 of them. One was in the Crystals.
Caesars and one at Crystals.
Crystals shop, which is the mall you pass going into Aria, and then Caesar's Palace. And we made a note every time because there's like 8 employees.
Yeah, there's a bunch of employees.
And they're all just sitting around talking.
Not one person.
And every other store is packed. It almost makes me feel bad for those employees because I'm like, they're not getting any. Go across to Louis Vuitton or something right now that, but it was very ghost towny. I'll bet you people were just like, I would like to go and I'm not even going to go in though.
I think people are.
No, they are. They are. I'm just, you don't want to be seen in there. You don't want to associate with it.
That,
you don't want to, it was nuts though.
Mhm.
All weekend long for 4 days. I didn't see a single person
Every time we walk
in that store buying the ugly clothes anyway. I mean, I've never walked past a Balenciaga and been like, "Ooh, I love the sneaker that connects to the tight."
Before all of this, I would joke about how there's not one article of clothing that I could wear in there.
It's amazing sometimes when you just slap a label on that people buy into, that you're like, you know what? Sure. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I've always wanted that. Is that it? Oh. Remember when that guy thought I was a hooker?
What?
You remember that? We were walking down on the strip and you know those cards that they have, which they don't have a lot of them anymore. But he looked down at the ground. We were at a stop.
Oh, and he goes, "Is that you?"
Yes.
That's
yes,
right.
We were crossing the street. You and I are holding hands and he looks at the card and he looks at me and he looks at the card and he goes, "Is that you?" I went, "What?" And you're laughing. I'm like, I'm so offended right now that he thinks I'm a hooker.
I thought that was
Why
funny.
are you still laughing at that?
That's
He thought
just
you were with a
funny.
hooker.
That's just, well, I mean, obviously you're not.
No,
and so joke's
obviously
on
I'm
him.
not. I mean,
I thought that was funny.
yeah. All right, let's do a little pop news and then Rowdy. Anything else? Anything else that you've got to add about Vegas?
Great trip.
It was a
All
good trip. Yeah.
All good.
Back again for March Madness.
Absolutely.
Pop news time.
Okay, so we are going to start with the sad news because we've been gone for 2 weeks and a lot happened over those 2 weeks. The first would be Kirstie Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody obviously now knows that she passed away. She was 71 years old and apparently it was colon cancer. And from what reports say, she was just recently diagnosed. This was not a years-long battle. I don't even think it was a months-long battle. It seems like the diagnosis hit and then pretty quickly got her, which was a shock. I think when everybody found out, you're like, oh my gosh. One, because you didn't know.
Right.
Also, not our business. She had owed nobody to tell her what she was going through. But just anytime you hear something like that, we knew her because she was on All Stars with us, Dancing with the Stars All Stars.
She was really good to you.
Oh, she was so sweet to me. I remember being so intimidated by her just because of who she was. I grew up watching Cheers, and I mean, she's Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, she was one of the biggest names that had been on that show.
100%.
She wasn't like a reality star or whatever.
I say she was kooky, and I mean that in a great way. Like, I don't mean that bad. The way that her brain worked when you would talk to her, and you're like, I don't know, whatever. There was one time though I will never forget, and it doesn't translate well when I tell the story, but at the time it was so funny. And Tony, my dance partner, and Max, her dance partner, were really good friends at the time, like best friends. And there was one big studio, and I think it was Tony and I that had the big studio, and we were taking a little break, and in comes Max and Kirstie. They were taking a break too, and we're just kind of sitting on the stairs talking, and she's like, "How's the week going?" And I was like, I'm just really struggling. I can't get this one step. And she goes, "Oh, I'll help you." Okay. So Max, all of a sudden, he's like, oh God. So Kirstie gets up. I don't know what she's telling me to do, but I'm acting like I'm the guy and she's the girl. And all I can hear is Max in the background. He goes, abort, Tony, abort. Don't let her do this. It's just, like I said, it doesn't translate, but it was so funny. Anyway, condolences to her and her family and all of that. Now, to a big shock that hit us all. This was yesterday. This is very recent. Stephen Boss, aka Twitch, who we know from So You Think You Can Dance and the Ellen Show, and he had like over 3.5 million followers on Instagram. You actually texted me yesterday and you go, "Is this real?"
Yeah, because I heard about that, and I mean, it just doesn't add up, right? It just doesn't seem right.
It was one of those, when I saw it, I went, this is a hoax. That's not real. And I went over to Instagram and TMZ, People Magazine, like the outlets where I'm like, y'all don't put it out there if it's not true.
Yeah,
right. I was like, oh my gosh, 40 years old, dead by apparent suicide. And then it was confirmed by the LA coroner that it was a gunshot wound to the head by a self-inflicted gunshot, which you're like, whoa. And it's heavy because he's been married to his wife, Allison, who, again, we know through Dancing with the Stars for 9 years. They actually just celebrated their 9th wedding anniversary 3 days before this all happened, which is heartbreaking. They had 2 kids together. They were ages 6 and 3. And then she had a 14-year-old girl from a previous relationship that Twitch ended up adopting, like legally adopting. So there is a young family now that's left behind. It's one of those, I think first instinct is to go to his social media and her social media and be like, I don't know, maybe we missed something. I mean, the Twitch that we all know, right? He's happy, he's loud, he's charismatic. Comes across that way for sure. Yeah, carefree. I did a pilot with him for an Ellen show called Heads Up. If you remember the game, it was on iPad. It was on an iPad at the time. It's like Heads Up. It's like a charades game. Well, they were trying to turn it into a TV show. And he and I were both there just to help Ellen film the pilot. So I got to spend 8 hours with him. And all I remember, I was like, God, he's such a cool guy. Like, he's just cool. He's nice and he's easy to talk to. And as early as just 3 days ago, which is 2 days before this all happened, he's posting dancing videos with Alice. I mean, all appearances look normal. Yeah. Now, does that mean anything? Absolutely not. Because I think everybody puts their best foot forward on social media, right? And you never really know what's going on. Well, there was a post from November 15th, which when you kind of look back and now when you know what happens, you're like, huh. And it's a picture. And all it said was, you are always attracting the support and resources needed to complete your life vision. Trust that the universe, is working behind the scenes to move you closer to the fulfillment of your dreams. Don't give up and keep going. You have what it takes to succeed. You're not far from what you desire. It will manifest soon. Get ready to receive more than you can imagine.
That was on his.
He posted it. No, it was November 15th that was posted. So people are like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, obviously stuff was going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And I mean, this is going to sound really weird and bad. And I don't want it to, because I don't want to, I don't really know how to talk about something like this, but I hope on one hand, knowing Allison and being in a similar position that she is, in the sense that I have young kids and stuff, that she knew maybe he was struggling, and that while this is a shock, it would not be a shock that would happen if she's like, I had no idea. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess that, and I hope that came out right. Like, I don't.
Yeah, because you don't want to spend the rest of your life wondering why, or like
I had no idea. How did I miss every single? I was married to this man for 9 years. How did I have no clue? As opposed to, I knew he was struggling, and we were helping each other. And
well, but if it's like that, then maybe you feel like you should have done more.
I don't.
Like maybe you take some sort of blame for it.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
The details that have kind of come out, and I don't want to get too into it. It's not our business, but apparently he left the house early. I think it was Tuesday. He didn't take his car, and Allison couldn't get a hold of him, and she was freaking out. She's like, I don't know what has happened. He has left the house. He doesn't have his car. He's not answering my phone calls. She went to the police station to report all of this. So this is all documented. And it was Wednesday, I think at like 11:15, that the LAPD got a call from, I think it's Oak Tree Inn in Encino, that the maid found him because he hadn't checked out. He checked in Tuesday, had not checked out by Wednesday, and they went into the room and found him.
And wasn't it like right next to their house?
It was a mile down. They just bought, it was like a $4 million home in Encino that they had just purchased a few months ago. And again, that means nothing when you're dealing with demons. It's just, it goes to show, like, hot dang it, you really don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But it's so sad when you think of those little babies and you think of, like, if he had just been like, Allison, I'm doing something and I can't, that's going to affect those kids forever. And and I can't imagine what she's dealing with right now. And I just hope, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. So here comes the awkward right turn.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's move on.
That I can't make naturally. So we're just gonna do it. Yeah. And we're gonna go back to Amy Rochach and TJ Holmes.
Okay.
Because everybody is still flipping talking about this story.
Well, they're both still off the air.
So yeah. Well, this is only 2 weeks old, doesn't it feel like this has been months? I feel like we've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. You want to talk about J-Lo? No. So yeah, they have now been off the air for over a week, which was weird because when the news broke, they brought them back on air Thursday and Friday of that week, and then they've been off ever since. Now, rumor is that like TJ made some kind of cheeky joke of, oh, it's been a great week. Who's ready for the weekend?
Oh, yeah, we need a long
and
weekend.
People are like, ABC said, don't address it. And by him making those jokes, he was being completely disrespectful and trying to like underhandedly.
He didn't address it.
Everybody knew. Do you know that clip went viral?
Oh, it did?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I'm having a good week. Well, Amy, you having a good week? So they've been off. Now, Kim Godwin, she's the ABC's news president, she has taken them off, stating that it's just a distraction to ABC News.
Which it is.
Now, you go online and it's very polarizing because you've got a whole group of people going, this is completely uncalled for. They are 2 adults. They're consenting adults. They had an affair. Who cares? What they do in their private life has nothing to do with how they do their job. Okay. On the other hand, I get what Kim is saying. That next day, Thursday, I tuned into GMA3, but not to watch the news. Right. I didn't want to see what dishes they were baking and what gifts they were recommending. I wanted to see how Amy and TJ were going to act.
Well, and that's why they took them off the air.
Totally. So, everybody's like, oh, higher ratings, 100%. I wasn't going to continue. Like, they didn't gain a lifelong viewer in me because of this scandal, right? I just wanted to see what was going to happen. Well, since all of this, they have been temporarily replaced.
Who'd they get replaced with?
Okay, there is a guy, and his name is DeMarco Morgan, and there's a girl named Rhiannon Alley. They could not be bigger clones of AJ.
Oh, really?
And
I'm gonna
look him up. He is a better looking version to me than TJ. And then we've seen Rhiannon before. I think she's filled in a few times, but to me, she looks just like Amy Rochach. So if I'm them, your thing's making noise. I'm watching and I'm like, oh boy, they've replaced me with clones. And what I will say is, and they've done the same thing with GMA. They've got Ginger Z filling in for some stuff.
Wait, on what?
Like regular GMA, not the GMA3, the third hour that they do. It kind of goes to show you everybody's replaceable. Like everybody's doing a fine job. I don't feel like you watch going, oh, these people are horrible and they're awful. Well, what they are now doing is an internal review. And they're basically doing this now on Amy and TJ to see if while they were doing, in London, doing stuff for the Queen and all of that, were they using company funds? Were y'all using to expense meals and this for your relationship? Because that would violate policy.
Okay.
Right? So they're under internal review. Well, there's more to why they're in an internal review. And before we get to that, I will say, I think for me personally, when I heard about this affair, I wasn't like, I bet this is endgame for them. I bet they have now found their soulmates and they're going to sail off into the sunset together, right? What I thought was, I bet. Now, I've never had an affair.
Well, thanks.
I'm just going to say that. I've never had one.
Not that I know about.
But I would think, well, at least what they show on TV, and then whatevs, I think it's exciting, right? You're in different cities and you're traveling, and especially these guys, they're on air when they go to commercial break. They go into the dressing room together, and do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not real. We're not going home together. We're not fighting over finances. We're not raising kids together. This is exciting. It's unknown. It's a secret from everybody. And that is a huge part of the appeal. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll get married and prove me wrong, and then I'll eat crow, whatever. Well, come to find out that scumbag TJ,
allegedly,
this is not his first affair at GMA. It's not his second affair at GMA.
Oh, it's not? Like, that's confirmed?
It is confirmed. It is.
I did hear that there were other people that were coming up saying that.
So he had an affair with a married producer, also not okay, named Natasha Singh. And this was for 3 years. Now, this was when he was a correspondent and she was a producer for the show. So it was from 2016 to 2019. Now, the irony in all of this is at that time, Natasha and Amy were actually very good friends. Like, they were posting on social together. And allegedly, sources say that the couple would actually go to Amy and say, this is the situation. What do we do? Blah, blah, blah. Well, he's getting investigated for that because what happened with Amy and TJ is they are coworkers, right? Are you still trying to look it up?
I can't find her replacement.
I'll find it in a minute. Rhiannon. So they were equal I feel like you're not listening to me.
I am. Okay. Look.
Equal coworkers, right? So there's not a power struggle at all.
Okay.
With TJ and the producer, he's up here and she's down here. Not saying any other than like when it comes to jobs, he could have fired her. He told her what to do. He told her
he
where to go.
couldn't fire her, but
He could.
He's the talent and she's the producer.
So,
and it sounds like most people would think that the producer means that like they're the head of the whole
higher,
show,
right?
But that's not the case.
No, it's not the case.
It's the producer of a segment.
Yes.
And he's the talent. Like
Yes.
the talent, the only person, like maybe the executive producer would be
Of the entire show.
Right. Producer does not mean head of,
right.
Like it just means, but I never knew that until you got into the business. Like I always thought, man, if you're a producer, like you can fire anybody. Yeah. Right. That's not the case.
And so he's obviously under investigation because that was an unequal relationship opportunity. And in this day and age, you can't have that. And then there are reports, and the name has not come out yet, but that he had an affair with another ABC staffer before all of that. Now, that being said, this guy has been married for 12 years to his wife, Marilee, who all sources right now say she has been blindsided. You know, they all came out and were like, oh, no, we've left our spouses before this all started. It's all copacetic. Now,
TJ said that.
Amy and TJ both.
Right, but their spouses have not said that.
No. We keep waiting for Amy's divorce to be finalized because everybody's like, it's in the final stages. But according to sources allegedly very close to Marilee, she was completely in the dark. Now, she knows his past. She's dealt with it in the past. So is this new? No. Makes me feel terrible for her. And I just think he's a scumbag.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, gross, TJ. Gross.
I don't want to give anything away. There's a strong correlation to what's happening here. No. What's happening here to the second season of White Lotus.
Oh, yeah?
Right?
What couple?
The two buddies from college.
Oh, and that we don't know.
We don't know he cheats and she knows about it but doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
And then maybe he hooks up with the other guy's wife.
I tell you what, though. So you remember like Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore, and when he got caught cheating, like the photos came out of him cheating, and that's when she left him, and all the rumors of it was open, and Demi didn't care as long as nobody knows. There's something about something. I can deal with stuff privately, right? When it's out for the entire world to judge, I do feel like you probably handle something a little bit differently. Don't you?
100%. Isn't that why they say a lot of celebrity couples, it's like, just don't make it embarrassing.
Just
don't embarrass me.
Right. Do what you want. Need to do. But if it gets out there,
which is such
I'm
a
leaving,
terrible way
just
to
so
live,
you know.
Right? I mean, is
that not our?
Good gosh. I mean, my wife is on stripper cards in Vegas, and like I didn't know that.
That is true. Hooker cards, not just stripper cards.
Hooker cards.
Anyway, I said everybody's still talking about it. I guess we'll see when we come back in 2 weeks if things have changed at all.
It'll die out a bit.
I think it will die out, but at this point, I'm like, I hope they don't work out because I'm so against him right now. How would you just cheat and cheat and cheat, and you do it in your workplace? And gross.
It's sloppy to do it in your workplace.
It is. I don't think I would look at him the same. If he comes back on air, I'll be like,
Well, and that's probably how the general public will feel, which is another reason why he may not.
So, all right. Well, let's end with some quick reality roundup. Okay.
Reality Roundup.
So we didn't talk about this. The Patient on Netflix.
Yeah.
We watched. We finished it a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah, it's hard to remember what happened.
And it has Steve Carell, who I will say is amazing.
Yeah, he's good.
Very
good.
Yes, he gives a great performance.
It's so funny that like he started his main The Office was where he
I've still never seen The Office.
And then now he's like only does serious roles. I don't want to say only, but
morning show. He was Matt Lauer,
serious. It's
quote unquote.
This one is dark, serious.
It is dark, and
there's no comedy in it.
The premise is a psychiatrist who is consulting with a serial killer and ends up getting kidnapped by the serial killer to have these sessions. The storyline is really unbelievable when you think about it. I remember watching it and I was like, "This is kind of stupid now."
Is it?
But I was invested every time an episode would end. I was like,
"Yeah,
I want to watch it."
8 episodes,
something like that,
and they're only 20 minutes long. So it's
way
that's
different.
Right,
they're
short. Real short.
You're right.
Which is totally different than everybody else is like going longer.
Yeah.
Over an hour. But they're good. They keep you. It's really good up until the last 2 episodes.
Oh, really?
I mean, it slows down the last 2 episodes.
You didn't like the way it ended?
No, I mean, we've said this 100 times. It's hard to end a show and everybody's, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like that's just hard to do. I
did it a little bit. The way it ended, I didn't see it coming. I'm not going to say what, but I thought something else was going to happen.
Okay. I mean, I know what you're talking about, that one little glimpse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you should watch it. I mean, it's not a huge time commitment.
No. And again, it was, I thought it was good. We just hadn't talked about it. I was
Yeah.
like, we finished that whole thing and we never talked about it. So that was The Patient on Netflix. Now I do want to get into, Sebastian Maniscalco on Netflix because I was super excited about the special that came out. He has 2 other specials on Netflix he does physical comedy and the faces he makes are unbelievable. He's so
more
funny.
than any other. Well, no, him and the Get Her Done guy.
Get Her Done.
Like those guys, that's not their real voices.
No.
Like that's not their
He
mannerisms.
doesn't really
that's
talk
not the-
like this.
Yeah.
Well,
and sometimes he talks like this.
so
It's
here
so-
is I condensed it down, but here's just a little bit of a trailer of his new special where he was in Vegas.
Give it up for Las Vegas. Split my pants on that. I don't know what's going on in the back of my ass, but something happened. There's a draft. I got the vaccine, and to be quite honest with you, I didn't get it to save my life. I didn't get it to save your life. I've had this thing, same reason why a lot of Italians went to go get it. As soon as the Italian community found out if you get COVID, you lose your ability to taste food, I ran to get this thing. My wife and I went to go see Hamilton on Broadway. I couldn't understand the rapping. I'm like, what? And you gotta understand something about my wife and I. We're equally dumb. I'll tap my wife. I go, you know what's going on? She's like, no, nothing. Like, no, we just sit there, dumb. I went to a hipster coffee house. The guy making coffee, he's got a half top on. Just hair all over the oh, come on, bro. No belly button, had a belly hole. Do you know what lives in a belly hole? If you got one, go home tonight, take an air duster, blow it in your hole, and watch what falls out on your table. Just get your hole away from the scones.
So, it felt really flat. We watched in Vegas of all places where I'm ready to laugh, and you and I were like, I'm really kind of bored.
He was very anti-cancel culture.
He said
he was
some
taking
things.
a stand
Now,
against what's happening.
I don't get offended. I really don't. I am not an easily offended person. But he was making jokes where I was like, why would you think saying something like characterizing who a busboy is a good idea right now?
It's
like
only,
that is.
It's almost like Absinthe, like it's total shock humor, and but it can't end well for him. Is it?
It's not going well.
Okay,
it's not.
It's not.
Because I watched it and then I went, let me go see what people are saying on social. Maybe it was just us. Maybe we weren't in the mood. I have no idea.
Because that can happen. People
are on his social media talking about how horrible it was. They think his eyes were a little glassy. They were a little bit. Consensus is he was on something. Something was happening. The crowd wasn't even laughing, which was part of it. When you watch the special, I'm like, the audience isn't laughing.
It's been a week since I've seen this, but there was some like sexist stuff in there too, right?
He just made us. It's not his humor. Like that's just not what he did before. You know, his whole shtick was one of my favorite skits he did was his wife scratched the car and was like, I think we can buff it out. And then,
that might have just been us.
And then he took it to the thing and he does, he thought he was watching Cirque du Soleil as they hop around the car going, oh, I think it's $80,000 worth of damage. It was wholesome, maybe. And there was a bathroom comedy skit in there where I was like, I don't understand why he's going here right now. It seems a little off brand. And I didn't laugh a lot. There were a few times I did, but it just was not. I was so disappointed because I was really looking forward to that. And I am a fan, but I just think
you're a bigger fan than I am.
Yeah. I think it missed a little bit, unfortunately. And also on Netflix, I don't think you've started this, the Meghan and Harry
documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot about it though.
Okay. Well, here's another little clippy.
It's really hard to look back on it now and go, what on earth happened?
You hear that? That is the sound of hearts breaking all around the world.
She's becoming a royal rock star.
And then
Everything changed. There's a hierarchy of the family. You know, there's leaking, but there's also planting of stories.
there was a war against Meghan to suit other people's agendas.
It's about hatred. It's about race. It's a dirty game. The pain and suffering of women marrying into this institution, this feeding frenzy.
I realized they're never going to protect you.
I was terrified. I didn't want history to repeat itself. No one knows the full truth. We know the full truth.
Boom. Okay.
I could see how people would want to watch this.
I started watching it. And this is me. I'm not even a big Harry and Meghan fan.
Yeah, I don't want to watch the wedding. I don't care about any of that, but this is interesting.
I do like the glimpse. They've never talked before. You know what I mean? It's always been tabloids. And,
yeah, the royal family,
right?
in general,
what the royal family has, what like their press has said. But them sitting down and just getting to see them and talk to them has been nice. Now, that being said, I don't want to be a woman hater. I'm not a woman hater. I support women. I support men. I support everybody. I'm not a huge Meghan fan. And I say that I'm watching this going, it doesn't feel genuine. It feels very almost pageanty. Like the way that she answers every question, it just feels like it's
well,
all
that
been
could
very
be,
rehearsed
well,
and it's all been, this is, and
I was going to say that could be because of the cameras and you're not used to that, but she should
100%. She grew up with all of that. And that was a big issue that the royals had with her, because as much as we don't understand the formality of the royal family I have no idea. I mean, I know they're royal. Sure. I don't know the ins and the outs over here. And she said this, she goes, when they heard Hollywood actress, they had a very clear stereotype in their mind. And I went, I get that 100%. I would understand what you would assume.
Probably when they heard American
Hollywood actress.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You stay away from her. I just get like, she was talking about when they met and, my friend said that this man was interested in me and it was Prince Harry. And I just thought, I don't know. Is he kind?
Is that what she says?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Could I see his Instagram feed? And when
I'm irritated by the voice.
I know that's how she talks though. When I looked at his Instagram and I went, oh, it's just all environmental.
Prince Harry has an Instagram?
I guess so. I didn't think
Doesn't
he did.
that, like, I would think that
that's protocol.
Rule number one of.
Well, he wasn't posting like social pictures. It really was just all, at least what they showed in the documentary, it was him in Africa and there's elephants and that.
He's like complaining about his McDonald's order.
No. It just feels very, and that's been, I think, the big criticism with Meghan is like, you don't really know who she is. And she has a podcast now. And
is that why this is coming
Well,
out?
it's part of it, well, a lot of the issue is they were like, we're leaving the royal family because we want privacy and we want to raise our family in peace. Yet here we have a podcast. We have this deal with Netflix. We're doing this thing with Oprah. Like, it just is like, all right, girl. Okay. Not just girl, both of you. You're both doing it. But her podcast is the same way. And all podcasts are different. But she literally reads a script. It's like she's reading an audiobook every episode. And I don't know, for me, I like to connect. I like off the cuff. I enjoy conversation.
You want it to feel authentic.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a conversation as opposed to you're reading to me and you're talking to me. And so I don't know. I'm still watching. I think I'm only 2 episodes in and more have just been released and I will finish watching it 100%.
Yeah. I read something where when they went to Australia or something, she did very well and everybody got jealous because of her.
Okay, so that's
people loved her there.
What Harry and so people were like they're being very entitled right now because Harry was like, here was our big problem is she was marrying into the family. But what do you do when the person marrying into the family outshines the entire family? People were like, well, listen, she was a big deal when they got married, 100%. So was Kate. But this was the first American to come in. Like, of course it was a big deal. I don't think that it meant that she outshined everyone. I just think that, it was an American princess. That's what we all talked about over here anyway in America. Apparently over in England, they didn't like it.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, they didn't like the whole thing. Anyway, I'm watching it. You know what? Maybe by the end of this, I'll be like, you know what? I'm a Meghan fan. She turned me around. I just need her to stop reading from the teleprompter, which is what I feel like is happening. Lastly, go ahead.
It's bizarre. It's not bizarre that he married an American, and it's not bizarre that he married a celebrity. It's bizarre that they don't live there and live that lifestyle that they could have.
Well, that's what the whole thing is about, is their version of events is that the crown, which is what they call all the royalty, was sabotaging them. They were creating bad articles about Meghan. And in the way he's saying it was very reminiscent of what happened to his mom, Diana. So he's like, once Diana and my dad split, everything was anti my mom. She lost all her security. There was all this press about her. And I didn't want that to happen with us, which, hey, makes sense.
Is that
to
true?
Me. What?
When everything, the Diana stuff?
Well,
you
don't know that it's actually Buckingham Palace and the Crown putting out those stories, but when that's what he's saying and you're like, maybe that's what it is. That's how they control the narrative, by making sure that.
So they just turned on Harry and Meghan.
They turned on Meghan.
Well, but in doing that, they turned on him.
Yes.
I mean, that's like my parents talking crap about you. Like that doesn't do
they need
me
to stop
well.
doing. I just need to say. Yeah. Basically. And he was like, that's why we left the royal family, because we were no longer being protected and it was not safe.
They did get cut off financially, right?
They did. Once they left and they
because there was a period of time where they had security that was paid for, and then
no more security.
You're right,
that all went away. Yeah.
I'm sure that he's not struggling monetarily, but
I would assume Netflix pays very handsome. And I think this is like trending. It's one of their top 5 shows right now. They're fine. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. I do get that correlation though, of like, if I just saw this happen to my mother and now I feel like it's happening to my wife, like 100%, I'm out. Like, if you're not going to protect my mom and you're not going to protect me, why? I don't know. It's interesting. Last thing that is not interesting. Actually, it's not the last thing. Second to last. Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
No. I mean, you can talk about it. I don't
have much to say.
I don't feel like talking about this and her getting a Netflix series.
Right. Peacock.
Whatever. I don't feel like it.
But here's why I'm irritated. Because what has happened now is exactly what I think she wanted to happen, which is why she did this. The whole new little millennials, all these little 20-year-olds that were not around when this case happened, right? They weren't here. They had no clue. They're watching this documentary. As I've watched several documentaries where the crime took place not when I was around or alive, and I watch it and I'm skewed by what I see. Well, they're all, she's innocent. This poor Casey Anthony had, oh my gosh, like all this stuff happened to her. And I'm watching it and I'm very clear on where I stand with what I think happened, because I actually know the facts of the case. Like, it was a case that I followed and I know. And my big issue with this documentary is that there are 0 facts in it. It is literally her point of view, her opinion. The interviewer never goes back and says, well, it's interesting you say that, Casey, because phone records prove otherwise, which phone records prove 90% of what she's saying is false. And also, she says this within the first 10 minutes of the documentary.
It was the right guilty verdict. I did lie to law enforcement. I admitted that I lied to law enforcement. So I am a convicted liar. It's the truth.
And what is your relationship to truth and lying today?
I'm a little too honest. I'm blunt. I'm direct. Almost painfully so.
Oh, God.
So she's actually interviewed for this documentary.
So
like this is new stuff.
Yes, they were very clear in that she had no producer credits. She had nothing to do with how it was written. 1,000% she got paid for it. I mean, nobody has come out. Sometimes they'll come out and be like, we just want you to know participants did not get paid. She got paid for this. She is unlikable and stoic and hard. And I am angry that people have changed their opinions that don't know the case. I'm going to send everybody. There is a podcast. It's called Mama Mystery. Oh, it's so good. I just found it because of this Casey Anthony stuff, but I've listened to others. It's a husband and wife team, and she does the heavy lifting, and he'll come in and be like, oh, let me ask a question. But if you go to that podcast, she does a 3-part series on specifically Casey Anthony leading up to this documentary. And she does such a great job of listing out the facts. The 31 days that Kaylee was missing, she has every single day documented of what Casey did because of phone records, because of this, she just, and you listen to it going, why in the world would anybody think this woman didn't do it? And then they call it a mockumentary on this podcast, and they go into their thoughts on that. So I'm going to send everybody over to Mama Mystery. If
do you have to watch the documentary first?
No, not at all. Okay. No, I mean,
because I would like to hear that.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying is the way that she spells it out. You wonder like how the flip did the jury. I don't understand how there wasn't one person in that jury that was like, not doing it. It's a fascinating thing. I got 10 minutes into the documentary, I'm going to be honest. And once she started, it was his fault and this fault, I was like, I can't do it. I couldn't stomach it, and I turned it off. In case you don't know how I feel about that. Let's finish with White Lotus, and then let's go. So I finished the first season in Vegas. You had already watched it. Mm-hmm. I'm in, as everybody else is, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very entertaining.
It's good.
Very entertaining. They do such a good job of, there's so many characters, but you feel invested with all of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Season 2, we have one. We have the big episode. Like we don't know what happened.
Season 2 is better than season 1, I think.
They've just gotten the formula down. It's like if you haven't watched it, they give you the ending before giving you the beginning. So it's like
3 minutes of the ending.
Yeah.
So all you know is that
something happened.
You know that there's one person alive and one person dead. And
are there multiples? I don't know.
Maybe.
And who is it? Why is it? And they do a great job with each of these relationships of going, it could be him. Could be him. That's a fractured relationship. Yeah. That's fractured. What's going on here? I mean, it's just, I feel like it was really well written, really well done. And I mean, I
can't wait to watch it tonight. Yeah,
yes.
I'm excited.
We have one more episode. I'm like, I don't understand how we just have one more. There's still so much going on.
It better be an hour and a half because they have a lot to do. And I bet you it ends. It's going to be one of the shows that you're like, that was a good ending.
I hope so. It already makes me want to go to Hawaii from season 1. Now I want to go to Sicily. Mm-hmm. And I assume, is there a White Lotus 3?
I think I've read that it has been greenlit.
Of course. They better do it fast, though. That's one of those things that.
Where's it going to be?
Greece.
No, maybe.
No. What do you mean, no?
Well, I was thinking like they went from Hawaii to Italy.
You mean it wouldn't be tropical?
Maybe Australia, maybe Bora Bora, something like that.
I don't know.
There's probably a White Lotus there.
If somebody was smart, they're like, I'm going to make White Lotus hotels.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
Well, except for you might die.
You will die, actually.
Somebody will.
So yeah, looking forward to that. But other than that, babe, I'm done.
Yeah.
Anything else?
New.
All right. Well, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Have happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, all that fun stuff. I think Happy New Year too. I think we'll be back in the new year.
Ooh.
I know, which is weird. But make sure that you like, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff to the podcast. Go to the Facebook page and like that. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel and stay in touch with us over the break. And we will have a fun, supersized episode in a couple weeks when we get back. Yeah?
Yep.
Over awesome. What do we say? I forgot.
See
you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Same time.
Same place.
Boom.
Over now.
I forgot.